Hey, welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Indieauthor Jill. I'm Jill, and I review self-published books and indie-authored books. Today we are looking at Join Me in Death by Siddhant Shekar. He is an Indian author, and the story actually takes place in India, and I love this artwork because he's got these like little ornaments here, and then in other parts he's got these like trees at the beginning of each chapter, and I like the artwork inside of the book. The book I'm currently reading oh, yeah. So, the current book I'm reading, all of the pages, a lot of the pages, but especially the chapter pages, also have artwork. Plus, there's a map. I love maps. There's a lot of really good points in this book, but there's an Inspector Kamal, and he is very dead set on solving this case. But well, I'll get to this in a minute. So basically, the story is about Aryan, and he goes on this trip with his friend Akshay. And while they're in Manali, he runs into this girl, Rashmi. And they spend the entire night together, not, physically, just walking and talking and sharing about their lives, talking about their friends and their families, the things they like, the things that they don't like, the things that bug them. They get a coffee together, and they even take turns. They do like a portrait of each other. They draw a portrait of each other. And he gets her phone number, and they decide that since they both live in Delhi, they're going to call each other when they get back home. His bus leaves sooner than hers, but he decides he's going to stay a little longer, and he catches a different ride back home just so that he can spend more time with her. Then she's got to meet up with her friends and family, her group, and they take off, so they separate, and they know that they're going to get back home to Delhi at different times, but they figure the next day, when they've had time to get home and get some sleep and rest and get back to being in their normal regular lives, that they will call each other and reconnect. And he keeps calling her, but it says that the phone is not in service. And he is like, "What? How is it not in service? Like, I know she has the phone and everything." So he just basically starts existing, because he falls into this depression of, why is this woman ghosting me now? And turns out she is literally ghosting him. He gets up, goes to work, comes home, and he won't go out with any of his friends because he is so desperate to try and contact this girl. And finally, Akshay comes and tells him, "You're coming out with me whether you want to or not, because this is not good for you." So he takes him to a party, and he's kind of walking around the house, and he asks Akshay, he's like, "Whose house is this anyway?" And Akshay's like, "I don't know." He's like, "A friend of a friend of a friend." And he's like, "What do you mean a friend of a friend? What are you talking about? Do you not know these people?" He's like, "No. It's just a party that happens every single weekend. And so I heard about it from somebody who heard about it from somebody else who heard about it from somebody else." And he says, "Just tell him that you're there with who does he say? Uh, but yeah. Okay. Here it is. Yeah, he says, do I even know anyone here? Aryan said loudly, and Akshay says, no, neither do I. Friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. I think. I'm not even sure. Should we even be here? He says, yeah, I have a message with this place's address, and if anyone asks, you're a friend of Raj's. Every party has a Raj. So, it's kind of like how here in the United States, almost every party has a Heather or a Tiffany. So, they go to this party, and he's kind of looking around, and he sees a group of pictures, and one of the pictures stands out to him because it's a picture of Rashmi. And the girl that's throwing the party, she comes up and she's like, enjoying yourself? And he's like, yeah. And she says, so who are you here with? He's like, I don't even know. He says, I don't know anybody here except for my friend Akshay. And she's like, well, who does he know? And he's like, who knows? You know? And like, he's being real honest with her, and she's like, well, are you fascinated by... She's like, you like our family pictures? And she tells him that this is her house, and that she throws this party every Saturday, and she really doesn't care who shows up. As long as nobody makes a mess, you know, or does anything illegal, she's fine. So, she's talking to him and everything, and she reveals that Rashmi is her cousin, but there's no way he could have met her last week or last month or whatever. He's like, yeah, I met her like a month ago in Manali. And she's like, there's absolutely no way you could have met her a month ago in Manali because she died a year ago in Manali. And so he's finding out that, oh, okay, something's weird here. So at first he's thinking that somebody is stealing her identity. Someone has stolen her identity and is pretending to be her. But when she takes him to meet her aunt and uncle, Rashmi's parents, he realizes that there was no mistake. He met Rashmi, and he can't get them to understand that regardless of what they think and what they believe, their daughter met him last month, even though she died a year ago. So he kind of sets out on this quest to find out what happened to her, how she died, and he keeps seeing her ghost all over the place, which is why I say she literally ghosted him. And it's a really interesting story. I love the way it's all weaved together. I love the way that Aryan is not... He's not all one thing. He's not... He has good intentions, but he's making a lot of mistakes, and he's doing a lot of things that are not necessarily good things. And he's falling into this spiral and just completely being haunted by the ghost of Rashmi, who basically lets him know that her death wasn't an accident, it was murder, and she wants vengeance. And so he's trying to figure out everything that happened to her, and it's frustrating for her parents because her parents were like, look, he's like, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this, and her parents are like, Aryan, we've done all that. We've gone to the police. We check with them every single month for the last year, and it's always nothing new. It's not our jurisdiction. It's not our problem. It's not this. It's not that. There's always an excuse why they won't talk to us and why we can't do anything. And nobody's doing anything, and they're not going to do anything. You're wasting your time. And Orion's just not really willing to give up on that. So because he's being haunted by this ghost that is saying, avenge me, avenge me, make this right, make sure that the people who killed me are properly punished for what they've done. And Orion is kind of torn between the reality of she is not there, she has passed on, and this ghost that will not let him rest. And he has, like I said, there's a genuineness not only to Aryan, but also to the aunt and uncle, Deepak, I think is his name. But yeah, I think it's Deepak. Yeah, Deepak and his wife Suman. But they kind of get caught up with this with Orion. There's an inspector, and the first time you meet the under inspector, Dinesh, I don't like Dinesh. I do not like him at all. He has no redeemable qualities as far as I'm concerned. But Kamal is a really good inspector. He's the senior inspector and he's the superior of Dinesh. But Dinesh is like, I want to close cases quickly and get them out of my hair. I don't want to deal with them very much. And Kamal is a very hard-nosed, he's very shrewd. He's very observant. But then he has this moment with his daughter, where he says, very good, now you have the one in the other hand, right? So we put that here. What do we have now? Kamal said, patiently staring intently at his daughter. She pursed her lips and tapped her chin with her pencil, pensively making Kamal smile. 12? Very good. And how many times does 12 go by 6? 2 times. Ayushi chirped up, her voice bubbling with excitement and at finally solving her first division problem. Perfect. So write it down. So now what is 72 divided by 6? 12! Ayushi wrote it down with a smile and went from ear to ear. And I love that we get this moment, and that's why I marked this page, but I love that we get this moment with Kamal because it kind of makes him more of a 3D. He's not just this inspector who's just out to try and solve a case. You get to see a personal side of him. And so when Kamal gets involved with what's going on, it's not enough to say, well, yes, he's sympathetic to Sunmi and Deepak's issues because he has a daughter. And you could easily say, well, I have a daughter of my own. I don't know what you're going through, but I can imagine what you're going through because I have my own daughter. But rather, you get to see him interact with his daughter, and you get to see how he cares for his daughter. And that makes his sympathies towards Deepak and his wife more prominent because you know that struggle that he's going through, so he's got to wrestle with, if it were my daughter, what would I be willing to do? And so he's got a conflict between the father that would absolutely want justice for his daughter if it was his daughter, and the inspector who has to execute justice and make sure people are properly punished for the crimes they commit. And you got Aryan, who is running around trying to solve a 1-year-old murder case, and trying to track down the killers. And if the police won't give justice, then he's going to do it himself. Because this ghost will not leave him alone. But I love the attention to detail in this story. I love the world building. Like, Siddhant paints the picture of India so well that you can hear and smell and see what he's describing. I will say, for anybody who decides to read this book, it does deal with SA. So there is that. There is part of Rashmi's story is that she was drugged. And you can kind of fill in the blanks in your own mind from there of what happened. And even then, there's so much more that happened beyond that. But if that is going to be a trigger for somebody, I would say anyone who is triggered by SA, then you might proceed with caution or read a different book. If you're not triggered by that, then I think it's definitely worth a read. You know, I mean, I myself was a victim when I was 14 by a neighbor, but it's not something that triggers me. And maybe that has something to do with the amount of therapy I've had. But I know that it's not always accessible, and even if it is accessible, not everybody who has therapy is still able to go through and not be triggered by that. And I don't think you should feel ashamed. If that is a trigger for you, don't be ashamed of that. Just read a different book. But yeah, other than that, I think I enjoyed reading it. I was fully engrossed in it. It definitely one of those books that kept me turning the pages. So yeah, definitely read it. I will leave a link to it in the description below. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye.